Welcome to this. I realize I've written this in different ways in different places. An experience session, curiosity session, um, all centered around This Is Me, which is the program that The View Looks Good with Anne and I is launching on the 11th of May, 2025. And an opportunity for you to understand what it's all about, get a feel for it beyond just the website and the wording that's there, to feel if this feels right for you. And we wanted to take a moment to not only introduce the program, but to share a little bit of it in this time together as well. Before we dive into it, how are you feeling about sharing This Is Me?
Oh gosh, what a question. How am I feeling? I think I've said it to a few people now. Like I just want to shout it from the rooftops. I I just I think the reason why I feel so passionately about what we're doing in our work at The View Looks Good, and specifically for This Is Me, is because of what a profound impact this work has had on my own personal life. My past career has only really been in leadership development and organizational development. And I love what I do in that space. And I love going to work. It's quite nice to come back from a holiday and my daughter says, "What are you looking forward to when you get back to home?" I'm like, "Oh, I actually really like what I do, you know?"
Yeah.
But I never really did any work in the personal space before. And with this work, it's just being a mum, being a spouse, being a community member, being a daughter, a sister, sometimes my brother's younger brother, not so much anymore. Yeah, just being me. There's that I've grown so much over the last 3 or so years, exponentially, that the idea that we can run this course with other people completely floods my entire body with bubbles.
Love that image.
So I am very excited to share a little bit to anyone listening who we are, because I think that's part of this course, is that you are considering whether to sign up with Anne and Kim as two people who are most likely going to be eternal students in this space, and are people who have done facilitation and training and coaching for a number of years now, good few decades between us. Um, and so we like to teach and we like to coach and we like to help people grow. And we love being a student too. Um, so it's a real honor. So it's nice to be able to give people an insight into us. As you're listening, I invite you also to take a moment just to settle in and feel what is your intention for listening to this, and what's maybe one thing you're holding on to today that you can just bring to the space for Kim and I to hold it for you and with you.
Uh, it's, as Anne said, it's really nice to share a bit about ourselves. So, following on from Anne, to share, yes, like Anne, I'm a facilitator and I've been facilitating with coaching and training and workshops in all kinds of professional spaces and, but just human spaces, really. And the journey into using nervous systems, mindfulness, somatic, so basically using your body to change how you feel, has been something I've been working on very heavily for the last, I can always remember it, 2 years more, 2 years less than the age of one of my children. So 8 years. Um, and this is an excuse to share everything that we've been eating, sleeping, breathing, and know works with people. So it is just such a pleasure to share some of that. And we're going to unpack in this time together some real tangible stories from Anne and I of like the feelings where we felt stuck and frustrated and just like, I don't want it to be like this anymore, and how we've used techniques to move past some of that. And we're going to play with an exercise that's very powerful and we use in the program as well.
Mm.
So I'm wondering, Anne, if just to kick us off, um, it might be helpful just to also share some of the areas in our lives where we felt like using nervous systems has been really helpful and really profound in changing how we feel and how, yeah, how it feels to be human in our bodies.
Mm. And interesting. I wrote down a few lists of who I am and started off with the spouse and the mum and the community, and then I was like, hang on, it really all starts with me. So I think one of the biggest, most profound moments is that work that comes out of doing the nervous system work, tuning in, noticing when you're swinging, noticing when you are in a really balanced, centered place, which we use the language being in your ventral state, but just that feeling of like invincible. And I hadn't realized how much of my life I was actually living in a survival mode. I was living in a um what is it, like a sense of I've got to be everything and all things and be bigger than I am and be more and so helpful. And only through becoming aware of, oh, I'm in this space, has it helped me realize and get to the point of realizing I had this weird belief. Well, not so weird because I think a lot of people have it, but I definitely had this belief that I am not enough just to simply exist, and that I'm a burden on society and on people. And when you're walking around with those beliefs, it's amazing how insignificant you feel, small you feel, how every decision is just so much more difficult to make because of
Mm.
that belief. And so becoming aware of it and then responding to that and healing from that and actually sitting with much more of a certainty in my existence and belonging, and actually feeling embodying that sense of what it is to be loved just for simply being. I have found that my relationships have changed, my approach to work has changed, my just even the way I walk down the road has changed from a bit of like, oh, what do I have to do next, to hey, I'm I'm walking down the road. Look at this, look at what's around me. What am I off to go and do? So that's the one area that I thought made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And then having a little one who's 4 years old, the other one I really wanted to share is useful because I have quite an opinionated, um, strong-willed little child, which at times I've definitely found myself feeling very aware of her voice and shy and fearful of what people think of it and scared that I don't know how to respond, especially before she's been able to speak. And um that really freaked me out as a parent. I didn't know what to do. And again, doing this work, I noticed one particular example comes to mind is she would have a tantrum and everything in me would go, okay, Hannah, just calm down, calm down. You just need to calm down. And I realized in doing this work, whilst I'm telling her to calm down, I was as far away from being calm as I could ever be. And so a tantrum would last for hours on end until or until I gave in with something.
Mhm.
Um, and then I got to realizing this powerful technique of let me calm my own nervous system down. Let me attend and respond to myself. And in doing that, 99% of all tantrums, uh, as I say, is just a figure of speech, have gone down to being maybe 5 minutes long. Sometimes a matter of seconds, of which my little one can just go, Okay. And we can move on from that moment. No bribery needed, no giving in, none of that needed. It can just be a moment of connecting with myself. And I really enjoy being a mum. I really enjoy the relationship and the dynamic and the energy that exists between my little one and me. Um, and then I could also talk about relationship, but I'm gonna stop there for a moment in the interest of time.
I love that. Can I just say, so welcome everyone who's listening. I just have to fully own the fact that we can't see who's here. So if we were not sort of saying a proper hello before, it is a very big proper hello to those of you who've just joined in. And I'm wondering if any of you had the same reaction that I had listening to Anne, especially when she talked about like, what is my value here on this planet as a belief structure? I was like, how could you possibly think that? But I think what's so lovely about that example, Anne, is that there's so many of us. I think everyone is walking around with some kind of belief structure within them that others would find it just impossible to comprehend that you could have those thoughts about yourself. You know, those limiting beliefs about yourself. So I really just want to say, I just feel the beauty of how powerful that deep reflection is, and that you can presence that, and how absurd that felt in my body to hear you saying those things. But we've all got these belief structures, and you know, it's no different for me. I think that things really hit in a number of different ways, but probably about 8 years ago, I remember the first one of just sort of thinking and waking up, being like, "Is this it? Is this what I signed up for?" With like the intensity of work in my life, having a family. I just was like, I'm sure it was different in the Disney movies. You know, like the mom that just has everything, you know, ticking over nicely, looks immaculate, has got the perfect light. I don't know where I got this perception of, but I just remember that having a moment of thinking, this is not how it was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to feel, life was not supposed to feel like this. It wasn't supposed to feel this intense and like not fun, like really not fun intense. I wasn't supposed to feel this disconnected from friends, family members, and I certainly was not supposed to feel like that as a mum. You know, it was just this melting pot of what I can say, it's not supposed to feel like this. And I wish I'd had this course 8 years ago. This is the course I was looking for 8 years ago, that just said there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong about this situation. There's nothing to be fixed here, but there is some exploration to be had. There's some learning and some awareness that is just going to be so rich and so inviting. Because now, instead of resisting the reality I'm in, which was absolutely, if it didn't marry up to the idea I had in my head of how something was supposed to be, how a relationship was supposed to be, how parenting was supposed to be, how family was supposed to be. Oh, that was a really strong one. Like, you are not supposed to be like this. Then there was just resistance, and my body and now I know my nervous system was just going, no, no, instead of, oh, okay, all right, this is what's going on. And I think that's probably now, when I really look back on it, the most profound shift is I am not only with what is happening in the moment instead of resisting it and wishing it would go away or burying myself away, but I actually have a choice as to which version of me shows up in those moments. Is it the one that's going to run away from that situation? Is it the one that's going to pick a fight with that situation? Or is it the one that's like, actually, I've got capacity to be with this? And that is game changing. Like, to have the ability to see it, be with it, and choose most of the time. I'm still human. Like, there's no perfection here. That's why this is like, you know, and like you said, like a lifelong experience. But it is it's something that is so satisfying because I feel like I'm growing. I feel like I'm evolving every single day, and not just over 6 weeks. So this is a program to kickstart you, to get you into the habit of using techniques to notice yourself and have compassion with yourself and find the part of you that you want to bring to the table.
Mm.
And to practice that with a group of people who are all doing the same and all want the same from their lives. So yeah, it's really hard to. I don't like using hyperbole around stuff. I don't want to be like, this is the greatest course ever.
But it
But
is.
it is life. It is, if you step into it, it you have the capacity to change the parts of your life that you want to change, or your relationship with the parts of your life that you're feeling stuck with. That is deeply rewarding. So
And I feel like the two of us have been reading, watching, attending different programs to understand it and feel it and then live it. And in our experience of being both trainers as well as students is always, I think you and I have both said it on multiple occasions now, of like, sometimes I can't just do the activity because while I'm doing the activity, I'm thinking about how to teach an activity. So that's one that's we
yeah,
on. Um, but this, we've taken all of that and seen, instead of it taking you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years to get to this point that we've come to, it's to accelerate that in a way that's not yeah, we do this fast, because that's just not what Kim and I are about. But it's accelerating it in the sense of those moments you spoke about, Kim, of where you're in there, am I going to run away from this or am I going to fight it? We don't normally know why we're running away or why we're fighting or what we're doing it. We are being controlled in a way by our nervous system. And this is set up over 6 weeks, 4 different modules, so that it takes you through the steps to understand that. So you become more aware of what it is that is actually happening to your body, that's affecting your actions, that's kind of making you do what you do, because that's all in the unconscious. And then when you become more aware of it, the next module is to look, but how do I respond to that? How do I respond to me, so that instead of just reacting, I actually can choose, as Kim has said, because I've got that awareness now, and I know how to respond to what my nervous system needs to stay grounded, to stay centered. And then I'm not in this alone. There's always other people. So how do I respond to other people? How do I relate with other people with whatever they're going on? Because they're going to be in my life, and it's all really good and well if I can do it for myself, but when somebody else is there and then I'm totally judging them on what they're doing, I've lost it again. So how do I listen in and be with other people? And then how do we bring that into life more, those skills? So that's also part of why we've put this 6 weeks together, and how we've put it together is it's taken us a while to realize that's what we're really doing. And our workshops now are to show you those steps that we've taken that make a significant difference in I want to say in the speed of our development, but with a massive caveat that this is not a speed course. It's the byproduct that speed happens, but it's not the focus.
I think I can hear me from 8 years ago saying, just give it to me now, give me the answer now. I need to know how to do my life differently now. And yeah, it comes oddly enough when we're not hunting it down with such desperation, but yeah, enjoying it a little bit more. I'm just conscious, I'd love to know, for those of you that are listening in, what's landing, not landing? What do you notice coming up within you as you're listening to Anne and I just introducing ourselves a bit better, introducing the program? Are you feeling just satisfied with what you're hearing, curious, got questions? Please use the chat box that's available to you just to drop us a note and let us know how you're feeling about all of this. As you do that, I'm just reading a note. You spent the last hour listening to a podcast on AI agents. I don't trust myself enough to slow down. Oh, isn't it just remarkable how much we have to trust slowing down? And can I mention the conversation we had right before this?
Yes, I am unapologetically human.
We had the exact same conversation before we jumped in of like, why is it? And I had the same conversation with my brother this morning. Why is it so scary to slow down? It is so, but actually, our nervous systems explain that so beautifully. If we have got that sympathetic nervous system activated, known as that sort of fight flight, when it's pumping the energy in, it's literally wiring you to move to feel safe. So you literally don't feel safe by slowing down and stopping. So we can't trust slowing down and stopping. It does take an act of bravery, of belief, of trust, of maybe feeling it in others, feeling the slowdown in others and feeling safe in the slowdown with others to go there, because it's really beautiful.
And I
Um,
think also the other side of it is the familiarity with it. We don't have a lot of good role models that do slowing down well, or that we know, because I definitely find a lot of the people around me, except for Justin, my husband, he's a great role model for me because he does not get I don't know, like lost in the world's craziness. But you think of the Nelson Mandelas, he slowed down. You think of actually any wise person that we reflect on, they did slow down to be able to listen to what really wanted to emerge and that wisdom to emerge. And so that's the other side of how do we build communities around us where it's so normal to slow down. There's no one saying, no, 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 you're going to be left behind. There's some people going, yeah, 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 let's actually just breathe into this one, or go for a walk, or take a break and normalize the slowing down so that we can see the magic, so that we can become so much more comfortable in our own actions of slowing down.
and it's also, I think, a nice nod to one of the ways in which we do teach and facilitate around this, which is to be really playful with slowing down. Like, not taking it too seriously. Like, what happens when we slow down just enough to pay attention? What happens? And that's probably a nice opportunity for us to segue into having a little bit of a play with one of the techniques that we love sharing in this program. And we wanted to just give you a feeling of what it's like to play with your mindset in this way of slowing down just to notice enough. So this is an opportunity for you just to take a moment to reflect on what's going on in your life at the moment. One of the best ways to start with this is to think of areas that you've got going on that feel a bit stuck. Maybe it's conversations, or it's particular situations, it's particular relationships that you're finding quite challenging. Don't pick anything monumentally huge, because it's a bit big to ask you to cover that in this short period of time. But just see if you can connect in with it. Let's just call it a stuck, a frustration, yeah, sometimes there isn't a word for it, it's just a noise moment. And if you've got something that comes to mind, pop it into the chat to say, yeah, I've got it, or if you want to share it, just the overview of what that is, just bring that to mind. And in the middle of that feeling of stuck, or feeling of frustration, or just being blocked, or not being able to move forward on something, there's usually a beautiful belief that's either very conscious and you're very aware of it, or sometimes quite subconscious. But we can bring it to mind quite easily by just saying, if there was a t-shirt slogan that had the words written on it that described the belief or the thought you have in that moment of that frustration or that stuck, or what would that t-shirt slogan say? So one of the ways you can do this is to just take yourself and put yourself back in the moment of that stuck. Bring it to mind. If it's in a particular place, you can imagine yourself being there with that the person or the people involved. Just let yourself settle into feeling the stuck. And what is it that's being said in that moment? It's usually just a couple of words. One of my all-time go-tos is I can't deal with this. I just can't deal with this right now. It's a favorite one.
Right, so the one that's coming up for me very strongly today is I don't have what it takes. Very
Lovely.
similar to
Have
Alpha,
it.
but
I
I
don't
don't
have
have
what
what
it takes. I'm having a bit of a chuckle because I'm literally imagining walking into a store buying t-shirts
it
that
takes.
say these things. I mean, we just wouldn't, right? But yet, so I haven't got what it takes. Beautiful. I'm trying to think, actually, just to give you a sneak peek of what this exercise we start to do. Here's a bit of a flavour of an example of how this gets very like beautiful. We turn it into a nice flower. But some of the ones that come up for me a lot are you should know better. It's a really nice slogan that I like to wear. You should know better than that. Um, what other ones? I can't is just my big one.
I'm all alone. I have that
Um,
one too.
oh yeah, I'm an island. Anne loves to hear me say,
Yeah,
I'm an island. I just don't need to, I'm just not going to do this with you. Like, you're out. Um, or the I know better. Wow. The I know better comes up in a lot of my wider family relationships. Yeah, I wear that t-shirt a lot. So if you've got a pen and paper to hand, just writing down what your slogan on that t-shirt might say when you're in that stuck. And this is really the belief pattern that is then defining the mindset, defining the nervous system that's activated in that moment. And it's like thinking about like this is the coding that then exists. Like we've literally coded our bodies and our brains with this piece of code, and that's now running the shop. So I want you just to see if you can think, what would your next course of action in your stuck space, that conversation or whatever is going on, what would the next thing be that you say, that you do, if that t-shirt is running the show? So what does the t-shirt do next?
maybe I can share a bit of an example of what I noticed in this I don't have what it takes is that the action was to lie in bed longer, not
Yeah.
take action, not want to get on to the next thing, and then just get into a lovely slating of, "Ah, you are useless. You're not good at doing it. Look at you. You don't have the willpower." Like, this is absolute confirmation. So you don't have what it takes. You can't even get out of bed to do what you're supposed to be doing. Oh, it's wonderful. Love that space.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm just thinking actually some of the chat has already highlighted probably like some kind of t-shirt slogans. There's sort of like, if I do that, I'm going to be left behind, or I'm going to get left behind, or I'm not good enough. That's, this isn't going to help. Those are all be, perfect t-shirt slogans. I'm just thinking on mine as well of the I can't, let me do the I know better, because I feel like that one has been uh, one I've had to be exercising and tending to very carefully. But the I know better, or I can't deal with you. The I know better t-shirt would have me in a conversation really get a bit louder. and more forceful. No, this is how it's done. This is how it should happen. I would be making a lot of people feel very wrong about their very wrong points of view. I'd be trying to squash people, make them feel quite small, not intentionally, but that sort of I'm right, you're wrong will just absolutely want to silence what they're saying and what they're sharing. So I can see that it creates a lot of disconnect and not a lot of harmony in spaces where I really want there to be harmony. And I remember this coming up a lot between like choices of how I was choosing to live my life, choosing how to spend my spare time, where I was spending money, where I was not spending money, my choices in parenting. You know, a lot of this, like I'm right, you're wrong, is very good at causing separation and distance in relationships that I actually wanted the opposite to be happening. So yeah, it's that t-shirt slogan it's got quite a lot of impact, as they do, as they do.
And it's amazing how you can feel it, because even while you're speaking about it now, I can feel myself wanting to get like everything in my body sort of just shriveled up to get further away from you. Just in hearing it. So I can imagine that the feeling, like that you send that presence into the ether of the world that you're in, and the people around, if you're a manager, if you're a parent, if you're in relationship with someone, and you send that kind of energy into like, I know better than you. I mean, my response is to get small. I'm sure somebody else is like, oh, do you now? Well, I'm going to show you who knows better and come at you. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah. And what Anne's just demonstrated so beautifully is more of what we do in the course, which is to show how we are all very connected because of our nervous systems. We're wired to be reading each other. I mean, this is body language and like a level that is just so profound and so beautiful. Because in effect, just from my words and saying, I'm noticing that I'm responding. And we talk about this being nervous systems regulating to each other, co-regulating. When I'm feeling that's real sort of a fight flight sympathetic nervous system being activated, what Anne's experienced is a sense of hers wanting to retreat and move into the dorsal shutdown nervous system of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to, like, I can't be dealing with this. But it would, because it's a fear state, it would either trigger you into retreating and getting smaller, or it would trigger you into coming and fighting and like, no, you're wrong. And then we get into combat zone, territory. And that's all just nervous systems, isn't it? It's so beautiful. But of course, if we're carrying these t-shirts and these slogans, now that we can see we're wearing the t-shirt, we have a little bit of choice around whether we want to consciously have that impact or not. And if you want to continue to have the impact you're having, you get to keep your t-shirt on. I mean, there are days where I found it very hard to take the t-shirt off that was, I am right and you are wrong. And I'm sure I wore it a few times over the last couple of weeks for sure. But it's not about it necessarily like evaporating overnight, though that can happen with us becoming aware of it. It's about saying, right, if this is a t-shirt that's showing up and I'm wearing and I'm really not enjoying the outcomes, is it a t-shirt I still want to keep wearing? And maybe I could get playful about trying out something else, something that feels more aligned with the kind of life I want to be having, with how I want to be feeling. And so we talk about what would a replacement t-shirt be? What's an alternative slogan? One you're probably more likely to find in the shops. What else could it say? What else could it say? And a lot of the course is designed to help you get familiar with other slogans, other ways of feeling, other beliefs that we could be having just because we choose to have a different experience. Now, this can sometimes feel hard to move into the second step because we are living so much of our lives very much in either the sympathetic fear state of go, 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 do, fix, 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 change, 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 or we've found that that didn't even work and we've moved into that shutdown state and it's just like, I just can't be bothered. I just want to be in bed, as Anne said, like for a few more minutes and I'm just going to avoid that. How many times have I done that to you? I'm just going to avoid the conversation. Anne knows my t-shirts very well now, thankfully. Um, it's really nice to think about getting familiar with a group of people of feeling differently. Like I remember having this moment thinking like a lot of the voices around me are very negative and I don't really want to always be around a lot of negativity. And the beauty of coming together as a group is we're exploring what does it feel like together to work as a group of people to start making more helpful belief patterns become more familiar, show up more for us, these different slogans arriving into our lives more frequently, and to have a support group of people saying, come on, yeah, let's get more of that in our lives. I think that some of the t-shirt slogans I try and put on more consciously include things like, I've got this. It always works out.
One that I use, especially that you are exactly where you're meant to be.
I'm where I'm meant to be. Yeah.
Or trust. I do actually have one. Just trust this one. Trust it.
Beautiful, beautiful. The one that I've been playing with as in opposition to my I know better is I've got space for this. I've got space for you. In all the differences we have, I've got space. I've got space. And the opposition to my I can't is often I've got this. Things always work out. Like, yeah, anything that's just, and you can feel like it just starts to feel a lot more gentle, a lot more compassionate. I'm just looking at our chat again and just picking up on the comment about Byron Katie's work on turning a thought around. That's exactly the territory that we're in. And it's really about self-compassion. It's like, what's a kinder thing for me to feel in this moment? Last week, I was definitely wearing a t-shirt that said, just let go. Just let go. So those of you listening, this is an opportunity just to see, can you access, and you might not be able to in this moment, it might just feel like you're really holding on to the other t-shirt slogan far too tightly. But if you just let go for a moment, what else could this t-shirt say that is more helpful for you in a moment? And if you can add that into the chat, we'd love to see it.
Maybe just
And
like, yeah.
I'm going to say, I'd love to come back to your t-shirt slogan, the more helpful one.
Well, and that also maybe ties into the other messages come through the chat. Do you think this is mainly a woman's problem? My husband doesn't think men believe they have the same issues. I doubt he thinks I'm not good enough, for example, which I struggle with a lot. And you're right, he probably doesn't have. I think I don't know if I would go as strongly as saying it's a man or a woman's problem, but I definitely think there are different things. Like I notice a little bit more what might come up in my husband's role will be like, there's no point. You're a waste of time, or like I'm not gonna bother with you. Those are also survival t-shirt slogans because they're not compassionate, they're not caring, they're not necessarily the spacious. So it will probably be different. And maybe that's one of the t-shirt slogans. They don't understand me.
I
Nobody understands
There
me.
are so many men in my life that's t-shirt says, I don't understand.
I don't understand women.
I understand. I don't understand. I don't understand.
I don't get it.
Yeah. But it's actually with some of my like close relationships, it's got to the point now where they'll say, I don't understand. I'll be like, uh-huh. Really now? Do you not? Don't think that's true.
Yeah. I don't get this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's or I know I've definitely had in the past of like we are just never gonna get each other. This is yeah, like I don't actually know why I'm trying at this relationship.
Yeah. There's nothing here.
There's nothing here. And so it's very easy to sit in that space, or it can be very easy to sit in the space. I think what I'm enjoying is that it's almost more uncomfortable to try and think of those t-shirt slogans now, which yay. um so and it's a little bit of a how do I get myself into the space to think of a new t-shirt slogan? And then once I know those other t-shirt slogans, I almost use those slogans to help me get me out of my space. So
Mm.
that's also what we're working on here. So what I like to try and do, even if I take this example that I was saying this morning of I don't have what it takes, is that instead of maybe just coming up with a whole bunch of positive slogans for the sake of coming up with positive slogans, I get myself centered more into like sometimes it might be what would a Nelson Mandela say? I mean, I do love the man. He's flawed. He's not perfect, but he was amazing. Um, what what would a Buddhist say? Perhaps a Buddhist monk saying this. I think although I was brought up Catholic, I do really love a lot of the Buddhist teachings. Very close to my heart. Um, Sometimes I might just put myself into what would Justin say, what would Kim say, what would somebody else say, just to try and embody. All of that is just to try and move myself out of my state, which cannot see through the clouds, into something else. Might even be to be like, let me imagine myself on a cliff edge, overlooking the most beautiful scene. Often for me, that is sitting on top of um, Table Mountain looking over Cape Town and the oceans. And that's enough to soften my nervous system into a bit more of a. And from that space, I ask the question, what might be a better slogan or a different slogan? And when the answer comes from that, it also feels so much more impactful, more powerful.
And just to pick up on that, it's another thread that we really play with in this course of moving into that state, like that feeling of just sitting out on Table Mountain. We call that the ventral state. It's when the nervous system activated in you is the one that just feels really safe and happy. Really just like really fulfilled with life. But we don't have to be sat on Table Mountain to be feeling that. You know, we can evoke those sensations in the body to be able to find parts of ourselves that are new to the table, new slogans. And so, what would the slogan be for you? Recap me what that slogan would be as an alternative to,
I don't have enough. I don't have what it takes.
yeah.
For me this morning, it was I am exactly where I'm meant to be.
Mhm.
And the reason why that's powerful is because I've got what it takes for right now. So
I
I don't need to
love
be
that.
imagining everything for the rest of the day or whatever. There were a few other thoughts. It's like, I'm right here. This is where I need to be.
And what's the difference if you let I'm where I should be, I'm right here, I'm where I should be, take the next action? What does it say? What does it get you doing that's different?
Well, the first thing is I got out of bed. So, I mean, like if I think about my past, I would have lay in bed for hours. No, I need more, I need more. It's like once I'd gotten that, okay, cool, let me get up and go do the next thing. So immediate action.
Yeah.
Um, there was a thoughts a bit more like, well, maybe what can I do to make this a bit more of a joy? What can I do? I've got resources, so I'll
Yeah.
put on music or I'll put the
I
lights
love
on
that.
and sort of get like that's what I like doing. So I've got what it takes to do this. Let me do that, and then that leads to the next thing, and it can be things like oh, it's going to be late for school and everything, and suddenly we get our clothes on and it's fun and we're out the door and nobody shouted at anyone. It's just so it's yeah, it feels ease. I don't want
Yeah.
to say it's easy, but it feels a sense of ease in my body because I've got capacity for that. I've got the ability for that.
I love that. And as you're saying it, which is why we do this in community, you just sparked a reminder for me of the alternative to my I can't t-shirt, which, no surprises, is I got this. I got this. And the number of times I think I made a decision in the new year actually that my I can't wasn't going to show up quite so much, or I actually said, you're going to try and show up, but let's just really rather have I got this show up. And it really did. I got this showed up until about mid-March, and then it was like, oh, we're still new here, like, and it took a little break, and I can't showed up for a bit. But the I got this had me saying, don't worry, I can do this with the kids. I can put that extra load of washing on. I can get things ready that I had not changed as a human being. I think my husband at some point was like, I think you've had a like body transplant because you're never normally this capable. But that's kind of what can start to happen. And it's nothing that's different other than an embodied feeling of, I got this. I'm loving the comment that's come in as well around it takes the time it takes. I want that on a t-shirt. Love that one. It takes the time it takes.
I also really appreciate that it worked so well. It's a lovely reminder because we think the idea of slowing down, or if we want to get to that level of insight, you need to do, I don't know, a 50-day hike somewhere in the mountains to be able to get there. And whilst I would love to have that experience for having that experience, it is actually, we are resourced enough to live in busy communities and still be able to access this wisdom in us. And whilst it is, and it will also come up in the course, what are the certain things you want to put in your life that help to ground you again, whether that's walks, whether that's nature, whether it's breathing, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's somatic exercises, whether it's tapping, whatever those activities are that you need in your life. I have to move. If I don't dance at least once a week, I start getting quite twitchy. So I have to. My body just needs to listen to music and move with music. That's one of my must-haves. But there we have a few of those things, and we use those to anchor ourselves in the busyness of life. And it can happen in a 30-second walk from one meeting to the next, or in what's happening more nowadays, switching off one meeting and switching on the next meeting.
Mm.
We can reground, center, listen into our nervous systems.
Yeah. I'd love to know for the comment about it takes the time it takes to know what emerges as an action next from wearing that t-shirt slogan. Like, what does that t-shirt have you doing next? Just out of my own curiosity. But yeah, this is the play. What else can you access within yourself that has wanted to come through, but has just felt a little bit stuck? And Anne has just mentioned that, once we start paying attention, then it becomes really playful of how do we move ourselves more into this ventral state, this more balanced, safe state by design and by choice, not by just circumstances if I happen to find myself on Table Mountain, so therefore I get to feel good. I'm loving the comment. I get to enjoy learning about the new tools. I get to think about possibilities. Yeah, it's not just a to-do list, the world where things can play again, things can move. And I love that because actually just coming back into this comment of like, it takes the time it takes, you could misread that and think, oh, well, you're just being sort of very passive and laissez-faire about things and, that's not going to get the job done. But actually, what you notice is that you get traction and you get movement and you get flow when you can bring in that new t-shirt slogan again. So I'm just loving all of that. I'm also watching the clock and noticing that we also wanted to wrap up and share not just this experience of just a little taster of the kind of stuff that we work through together and hold each other's hand on, but to tell you a little bit more about some of the specifics of the program. And one of those specifics that I just wanted to lead us into this segment on is to talk about how we use partners over 6 weeks. Because it's the kind of thing at the beginning, everybody who ever trains with us is like, why do I get a partner? Like you've got 2 facilitators who are going to show up all of the 4 live days that we're doing on Sundays. And then you've got access to us for coaching and tips all the way through the 6 weeks in a live chat space, and we take one-to-one sessions. But the bit that always is kind of annoying, Anne, isn't it? Like everyone loves more than us, is the fact that you get a partner for the 6 weeks that you're on the program. And there is an obligation that you spend up to 4 minutes with each other every single day. So that's either like on a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call. Ideally, it's a face-to-face if you can manage it. Worst case scenario, you can't manage it live, some voice noting backwards and forwards. But it is someone to witness the growth work that you're doing every single day and is there committed to witnessing it. And it is hands down, is it not? Like the bit that everyone raves about by the end.
It is, and I understand why. Having we practiced it ourselves before we made everybody else do it, and while making other people do it, and it's amazing how powerful it is to be witnessed on that level every single day by someone without judgment, just there. And where I can think to myself, I'm processing this. I suddenly start saying it out loud, and I'm like, oh, I'm processing this. so, it really like it's a wonderful way of holding yourself accountable without it feeling like, ugh, I have to hold myself accountable.
Mm.
Because it's not just, oh, I'm getting this. You're witnessing someone at the same, whilst being witnessed, you're witnessing someone. You bring your attention to them. It opens you up. It's almost like your little bubble of yourself. It's like, oh, my bubble includes other people. And that's part of the opening up and the broadening of it, welcoming and inviting other people into our lives in a healthy way, because I think one of the things I was scared of being very friendly is that I welcome people in my life and then I don't know what to do with that because I'm not entirely sure I wanted that in my life. And now it's like, oh, I know how to welcome people without judgment and not feel like I need to hold their feeling. I don't have to embody their feeling and hold that for the rest of the day. So yes,
Yeah.
it is powerful in what it helps you to reflect on for yourself, and it's powerful in how it helps you to think about your relationships with other people.
Yeah. And just to stress there that you have this contact for 4 minutes, but you're literally just talking for 2 minutes and listening and talking for 2 minutes and listening. There's no conversation. Well, there shouldn't be. I know that everyone starts having chit chat. No conversation. So it's an exercise in listening, but it's listening in a very particular way that is the most wonderful way to learn to listen, the most wonderful way to be listened to. It is so affirming. I mean, Anne, when you went through this part of the program a long time ago now, is it not true that you still have sessions with your partner? How years later?
Yeah, this
You
is
have once a week you've
3
moved to.
years now. We meet once a week. It has turned into more of a half an hour session. We could give 4 minutes over a whole week. It just made sense.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of conversation at times because it's just so wonderful to connect with person. But yes, it's the depth of that relationship is profound.
Yeah, it's very special. And we don't want it to feel like it's 6 weeks and then it's done. At The View Looks Good, we have this really special evolving community space that is a place for you to move and transition after the program into as well, so that there's a continuation of being able to stay in touch with other people who are doing the same kind of work as you. And we're all focused on finding more of those better t-shirt slogans and practicing getting in tune with the good Table Mountain feelings and digesting some of the difficult t-shirt slogans that can be harder to digest. There's classes that do that, and that is there with access. You have access to that for a year, and then you can continue to do that after that year period as well. So it's all there and available for you. And just we get access to you. Like, it is totally self-indulgent to have more people doing the work that we're doing, because it's just wonderful to have other people who can communicate on this level and work together with us. I think that's all that I'm feeling like in the time that I'm desperate to share with people. More information is available on the website. So it's theviewlooksgood.com/this is me, with more particulars about the dates and the timings of the programs. We are also about to add to the website the possibility for you to pay in installments for the program. That's a new functionality that's just come into the platform Mighty that we use to run the program through. So that'll be coming up soon. But if you want to chat to us about making this affordable, having access to it, just reach out. We're really, really happy to have conversations about how we can make sure you're included as part of this.
And Kim, somebody just asked how often would we be running these courses if May start might not be suitable. We don't have a set other dates, but we want to run this as many times as we can. So if May doesn't work, we will. The other thing we want to take into account is timings of holidays and breaks. So we possibly hope to do another one later towards the end of this year.
Yeah. And we will be making sure things are recorded. So if it's just one session that you can't make, it will be available to go back through and complete the programs. And we are around in the weeks, to catch up on bits that you're missing. We're here basically to make sure that you don't feel like you're being left behind on anything. So I would just encourage you to see if you can step into it, if you can make most of the program.
If you do have any other questions, feel free to put in the chat. Otherwise, you can message Kim and myself personally, or you could send an email to listening@theviewlooksgood.com and we can get back to you with that. Yeah, I just really look forward to seeing you on the course and seeing how this grows. Yourself, ourselves, as you can maybe tell, I'm just quite excited.
Thank you so much for joining us and listening into this. It's been so lovely to have those of you who've joined live. If you're listening to the replay, wonderful. Thank you for your curiosity, and we really hope to connect with all of you very soon. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.